Good morning, everybody. John Sfiocla here for GAI Insights, bringing you the Gen AI news briefing, rating your news essential, important, or optional, giving you time in your day and thoughts in your mind. We have a full house today. We have Amanda, David, Ankash, Paul, and Luda. Lots of articles, deep ones to go through today. Everything from fantastic new ideas around platforms and renting GPUs, all the way through some fantastic innovation by OpenAI with their Canvas product to help you write code better on their platform. All right. Akash, we can start us off with the first one.
Sure, John. So the first one that we have for today comes from Semi-Analysis, and they talk about AI Neocloud Playbook,
Yes, yeah, quite a comprehensive
and
article here.
it's
Go
very
ahead. Sorry.
dense article covering everything about these
Yes, yeah,
Neocloud.
there's the massive infrastructure of access to GPUs from the hyperscalers to focus folks like CoreWeave to lots of upstarts and even the VCs themselves making making GPUs available to their companies. David, what did you think of this one?
Well, yes, definitely incredibly long. And it appears Neocloud is a term that this author group has kind of drummed up, basically, as you said, for providers of GPUs only, basically very focused on that, like a CoreWeave. And there's two parts of it, and I was actually more interested in the second part, which ended up being behind the paywall. So the first part is how to build one of these GPU clouds, which I think has a really limited audience. It's probably not the audience that we're appealing to for the most part. I mean, I don't think too many AI leaders are going to be looking to build their own GPU cloud. The second one is about the whole uh, economy around these providers, and it will talk about who you can look to for it. Like you said, there's even VCs in this space, how much the total cost of ownership is, et cetera. Some more interesting things. I mean, I would go optional on this one. It's just a little long and kind of a sidebar, I think, to what most AI leaders are focused on, unless they want to pay up for maybe the second half, which looks like it could be a little more valuable.
All right, so we got an optional going on here. What do you think, Amanda, Luda?
Yeah, the second part is certainly possibly more valuable. The first part has the universes of these clouds, and maybe Ankash, if you scroll down to one of those pages that shows who is playing in which place, and maybe stop here. This is the table of contents, right? So the first part, it goes quite deep technically in how you integrate, showing us the wires and plugs and whatnot. So that is, I agree quite. This is the content list, right? And then the second part is goes into pricing, how do you put it together into the total cost of ownership? So that probably is very valuable, but it's behind the paywall. So go down a little bit, Ankash.
Yeah, and I guess that the same part's only valuable if it's talking about the total cost of ownership for me who's renting this, right? If it's for like the total cost of ownership of like building one of these, I would say not valuable.
Yeah. So if you can zoom in, Ankash, a little bit. So it just gives us the who is playing. We know the big guys, right? The on the left, the traditional clouds, and what they call big giants. We know all these guys, but the middle was very interesting. Look at all these emerging cloud providers and the brokers and the platforms that we know some of them. So and VCs are starting to build the clusters on the right lower column. So that, from my perspective, this chart is important if you're building your own.
All right, so we have an important. So overall rating, optional, important.
David put it optional, right? I'm thinking this chart is worth it.
Okay, so you're leaning important. I'm leaning important. What do you think here, Amanda?
Yeah, this is tough for me. But I guess I could be swayed to important also. Sorry, David.
I don't know. I think we're doing our AI leader a disservice if we're going to make them spend their time on this article. I think there's more important ones to read. But hey, democracy. I was outnumbered a bunch of times yesterday. I can take it again today.
Well, the thing is that talking to AI leaders, and I was talking to firm in production yesterday, and to their president, CEO, founder, and this total cost of ownership issue. This is what we're talking about, right? We're talking about what where are they getting. Where they're getting their compute, what does it look like, what are they expecting over time? They worry about this day in, day out for folks in production. And most AI leaders are not in production.
For the membership to get that part of it.
Yeah, but we are not, and we don't know what's in it, John. So David has a very good point. Maybe we do rate it optional with a pointer saying, look, there is a lay of the land of who's playing in that article. So if you're interested, check it out.
Yeah, optional, but flip to the chart and maybe snip it and put it in your.
And maybe it's worth paying for the second part.
All right, Dr. Beyer, what do you think here?
I'm going to defer to the group. I do love this chart. I do, John, as you know, our total cost of ownership research. I mean, we're looking at companies doing $1 billion a day in tokens and looking at scenarios that might go to 10 to 15 billion a day in some large company situations. But
$1 billion tokens a day, not $1 billion.
Tokens, I think. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I'll support the consensus here.
Well, that's no help. All right, Amanda, we're gonna push it to. We're gonna put pedal to the metal here and take over. We're gonna do an optional coup to important or what? All right, with that kind of support, we're going optional. All right.
Well, hang on, just a note, David. Here's someone with a chalk who's gone Democratic. John, you feeling okay today? What's going on over there?
I don't know. It's Friday. Whatever. Okay, optional it is. Next.
So the next one comes from OpenAI, and they have introduced Canvas, a new way of working with ChatGPT.
Yeah, very interesting. I think building out a better interface to the most important, I would argue, the most important application of generative AI so far, economically and functionally, which is using it to write or improve software code. So what do you think here, Amanda?
Yeah, so I mean, it reads at first like a very markety piece. So typically I would say optional and I just leave it alone. But yeah, I was kind of important on this one just because, a lot of I don't know if I want to say consistently a hot topic, but is about ChatGPT and coding. And I was somebody who literally disliked it for coding. I mean, to me, it couldn't debug anything and it's getting better and better. So for me, I actually rated it important because again, it's this way that it's like if you just, literally go into the article about inserting these print statements, helping you debug and things like that. It's adding comments in and out of the code, making you understand it's claiming how it's updating the code. Because before, to me, it was like this black box and then it just would never run right. So to me, this is important just for that reason, even if it's a markety feel, like I said.
Yeah. Ashish says, like, he used it yesterday night and absolutely fell in love with it. So,
yeah, I gave it a spin last night as well. It's a little slow in some areas, so I used it. It's most helpful for writing and coding. And what's interesting, and this article talks about it, is it gets triggered automatically based on what you type into a prompt, right? So I just made something up, like I took a slide that I happened to be looking at the time, and I said, like, I need to write a blog post based on this slide, and it automatically kind of opens this experience, which is, very similar to artifacts from Anthropic and now Pages from Microsoft, and you can start to work within the text rather than, it spits out a bunch of things. You say, edit this paragraph, but then it does it all again. Now you can kind of like go to that paragraph, highlight it, say like what you want to do with it. I think it's essential actually, because we're seeing with all of these new interfaces that I just mentioned, this instead of becoming something on the side, right? This like assistant on the side that we use from time to time for certain things, it's becoming the workspace, right? So now it's becoming, we're talking about how AI is going to kind of become the operating system. Like this is sort of like a step in that direction, that we're going to be working in and with AI constantly. And it's something that, Microsoft attempted from the outset with putting it into their apps, but it was not really working in that way. So they're even moving kind of in this direction where it's a little bit more new interface first, rather than putting it into like an old interface like Excel. So I would go with Essential on this one personally.
Yeah, I can support that because, as we know, ChatGPT has the largest percentage of usage, right? And people are trying it, and this is a very helpful feature to control what can and adjust and iteratively improve the writing or the coding. So I think it's important. Yeah, essential.
All right, we're headed for Essential. I can support that. Biggest provider, new interface, really kind of moving the paradigm forward.
Well, and the thing that, John, I think, and just a footnote on Essential is, I think we're also seeing, at the end of the day, we want productivity, and we're seeing productivity drivers move just from the power of the LLM engine to now the power of the interface, right, which I think is a logical progression in these maturity things. So absolutely essential.
All righty, Essential it is. Next, Ankaj.
Okay, the next one comes from Pika. So they have launched Pika 1.5, which they are saying is doing some physics-defying special effects.
Yeah, maybe you can run one with a balloon or something. Which one is smaller? It's fascinating.
Yeah, I like the squishy ones down below. Yeah.
Yeah, it's what they're showing is quite impressive, and I think it would push the image generation and the effects quite significantly forward in the whole industry. But I don't know. I was vacillating between optional and important, and they are the leader in the physical photography, sort of. So I think important. Let's put it important.
All right, we're getting important here. What do you think here, Paul? You going on important before?
No, this is optional in my mind. This is one of the many R&D stunning things in the R&D factory, but I don't think it moves the business case for the leader.
I think it's available now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's shipping. I don't know. I was going to go important. I'll tell you why, because I think that a lot of the consumption of this stuff by folks, I think, is going to come through Meta, Instagram, YouTube. It's going to be people hacking around with images and social media and so forth. So I think that, and this one has got some really fun, this notion of inflate, cake effect, the whole routine. So again, it's not essential, but I think it's important because.
Well, John, related to that, I was talking yesterday for the work we're doing with that one brand company here, that we're seeing AI generated images double and triple some of the engagement of some of the social media ads, which can have a really big impact on, minutes spent on ads and ROI and click rates.
Yeah, I think they're doing some smart things here too, which I mean, maybe Runway and some of the others are doing it and I'm just not aware of it. But, by kind of creating these sort of one-click ways to create certain effects, I mean, they're bringing this more to the masses, right? And letting more people experiment with it, which will, make people more intrigued to use it. And then the more people that use it, the more it gets improved, right? So they're also doing things like having more regular contests. Like Runway has that kind of annual one where they have people create like full-length films. And this one, they're doing kind of sporadic contests to try to improve the tool and get people using it. And they're encouraging people to submit, bugs and all of that. And I just feel like that sort of, I was pleased to see that sort of strategy, because some companies kind of are just making these and just cranking out the technical upgrades without really thinking about how and we're going to get people to actually use this, regular people, right? Not developers and such. So for those reasons, I could definitely support.
So I was thinking, and Paul actually said it really well. It's the engagement. So the reason I'm thinking important, other than optional, is because the leaders, for especially the ones that do use ads, and most do, they need to stand out. So as this improves, they need to really be aware that those capabilities exist to integrate them into the ads and improve the engagement with the audience. So this is why I was thinking important.
All righty. Amanda, what do you think? I'm headed for important here. You gonna stop me? You gonna support me?
Yeah, I could do important. I'm on that thing again where some of this stuff starts to feel markety, but then I'm okay with the important.
All righty. All right, important it is. Next.
Okay, the next one comes from Flux, so in the similar category, and they have launched Flux 1.1 Pro.
Yeah, let's see here. Who is on this one? Who's on Flux? We have
John.
me. Oh yeah. I was going to give it optional. I didn't have the ability. They didn't have the embedded videos and so forth. I did not go and download it and start to use it. So it may be as impressive as what we just saw. I don't know. Certainly the renditions look interesting, but on this one I came down on optional as another innovation. I know that is somewhat in contrast to what I just said, but there you go. The ease of use in terms of understanding what it is, I would give it an optional.
Yeah, I would note just one technical thing that they're doing, which I think is happening in some other applications. Whatever prompt you put in, they actually take that and create a more enhanced version of it to give you better results. So this is a little bit similar to what we were just discussing about the, kind of the way that Pika is creating ways for you to more easily use it and get better results from it. We're seeing that here. Now, maybe it takes your request in a direction that you weren't really intending. I guess we would see based on using it. I haven't used it either, but I think it's interesting to see that kind of movement, which is good towards really helping the users. People are still struggling with prompting and such.
Yeah.
I also want to note, Paul, John and David, that this is from, what is it called? The very well-funded and well-supported company, Black Forest Labs, I think.
Yes.
And yeah, so this is supported by OpenAI and Meta, and so these are very, very smart folks. So just a note. But I also support optional.
All right, I think we're going to go optional on this one. This whole notion of how you make the interface better so you can use it, David, to your point, back to Canvas as well, in terms of how to use these things. I think it's going to be really interesting to see. And the other thing is, I think when we have creative people who take this stuff and then use the best of it and go that next phase, because I do think that because this is statistically driven, some of the stuff comes out with a lot of sameness, but then there'll be people who know how to cut into that in a way that use this as a great new base and then does creative stuff on top of that. All right, next. Optional on this one, Akash.
The next one comes from Google, and Google is bringing ads to its AI overviews.
Yeah, here we have Google punching back at Perplexity and some others. Remember, they have over 80% market share of search worldwide, so pretty impressive. And they're starting to splice ads in here with huge implications for publishers. They're saying some of the publishers are seeing a decrease of 20% or more of ad revenues. So what do you think about this one, David? I know you're big in publishing and so forth.
Yeah, oops, sorry for the noise there. Yeah, and if you scroll down on Kaj, you can see some of the implementation on mobile of what it will look like when they put the ads in. And actually, I updated my Chrome this morning and I was playing with it to see what it looks like on desktop. And I think I was seeing it. It's kind of hard to tell. I may have already been a beta tester and not realized it because it looked kind of similar to what I've been seeing.
Uh-huh.
So it's really kind of similar to also what Google already was doing when you would put in a search term. A lot of times the sponsored content would come up first, and then it pushes kind of the native search content underneath, and it's pretty much doing the same thing here, right? Except now it's showing up next to the overview in some cases, and then just below it in others. It's honestly, it just makes a mess. I feel like now there's just so much to sort through, right? If I don't want the overview, I don't want the sponsored content. Now I've got to scroll down more to try to find what was the content that it was pulling up because it actually fit what I was looking for, right? I mean, I know that the AI overview and what's in there is supposed to be close, but most of the time I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for like very specific article or piece of content that I want. I guess this is good for publishers. I'd be interested to know who's going ahead and buying this type of ad and what success they have. It'll be some time, I think, before we find that out. But I guess it's important because we're continuing to move in this different direction with search. I'm a little disappointed about the implementation and what it means for the user.
Yeah, okay. So we got an important here. I read the article differently, David. I thought it was bad for publishers. I thought they were seeing their ad revenues go down.
Well, no, that they were worried about that with if only just the AI overview was up there and not their own sponsored content, because the AI overview was bumping sponsored content down and the native content. So I think this was a way to I read it as this is a way to try to be more helpful, to get you higher up. Now you can be right next to the AI overview, which is, of the fold, as they say. So that's how I read it.
All righty. So important. What do you think here?
Wait a minute. I think it's a very failed attempt. So they looked at Perplexity and it's just really not useful. Well, it's useful in some sense, but the way they put those ads together, the way they try to get the right ad served to you is still not there. So it's a failed attempt from my perspective. I mean, we can put it important, they're trying, and it will get sorted. But I think if you put what Perplexity is doing in terms of ads and what Google is doing, Google is not doing that, according to Luda. So I think it's a failed attempt. So I rated it as optional. Give them time. But it is a try.
Yeah, I hear you. I would have a similar evaluation, but I'd still rate it important because they're the major provider and kind of where they are. And I think Ashish and Vivek are saying, "Hey, look, Google's trying to reassert itself. We don't like it, but I think it's so many companies use SEO and advertising, whether it's for talent or for their product and services. I'm almost at essential. Amanda, what do you think here?
I'll go important. I'll go down the middle.
All right.
Today's an important day for me.
I know that it's such a hard spot for Google, right? It's like they kind of have to do this.
Yes.
But it doesn't work, right? Because what we're seeing, for example, with what we just talked about when we started with OpenAI's Canvas, with Microsoft Pages, with artifacts in Claude, like it's flipping things, right? And Google's trying to prevent the flip and say, look, here's search as it is, and we're just going to amplify it with these overviews and with the ads, and like it doesn't work. Like they need to, I hope that they're working on something similar to these other interfaces that we've been talking about, because I think they're trying to fight the tide, and maybe they just see this as a intermediate step before they get there. But I don't know, is it worth it? Like I think you're gunking up the experience and you're just pissing people off, and they're going to move to those other tools and you're kind of losing it. So it's definitely interesting to watch. I understand the spot that they're in.
Yeah, between the rock and the hard place. But they will have to do something better than what Perplexity is doing to win. Otherwise, they will lose it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I completely agree. I have a hard time working up a sweat for worrying about Google. They've been so, they've been so dominant and so predatory in some areas. It's just whatever. I'm glad to see, like the government's not whacking them very much. I'm glad to see somebody come at them. So
And
there
they
we have it. We're going to put important out there. All right, important it is. And the last article, Ankash.
Today, the last one that we have is a research paper, and it talks about RLEF, grounding code LLMs in execution feedback with reinforcement learning.
Yeah, we have our friends at FAIR, Facebook AI research here going at it. Meta, thank you very much. What do you think here, Amanda?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a bit technical when it's research, right? So I don't know how deep the leader would want to go into this, but again, like I said, today's an important day for me. So I rated it important because, again, it's sort of learning from this feedback. And we're back to, again, about coding. And so when they put it up against some different quote unquote programming challenges, they basically said that the results were pretty good. So I think that in itself is just worth noting. But again, I don't know if the typical leader, a little technical research they want to dive into, but I was leaning towards important.
All right, we got an important for Amanda. Luda, what do you think here?
Yeah, I'm also technical, remember? So I'm with Amanda. This mechanism, it's what they've done. And Ankar, scroll to open the big thing, the big article, and scroll to the second page at the top that shows a schematic, this one, right, of what they are doing. So they essentially, on the left, it's this reinforcement learning with execution feedback. So they roll the model several times with certain feedback and testing it, and then they are optimizing the reward with the PPO. So it's double training, and as a result, the model performs really well. So I think this method will get deployed everywhere in all the models, and as a result, we'll have a step up of the performance. So I also rated it as important.
All right, we're heading for important on this one. David, you go with that?
I will go with them. I actually spent little time on this one because it popped up this morning. So, and I did my reading last night. So I trust the views on this one.
All right, we're going to go for important on this one. Ankash, give us the tote board. And let me do some comments here while Ankash is doing that. I want to remind folks that we have an AI Woodstock at 5:30 in Boston at the Timeout, which is in the Fenway. And let me just, let's see here, share screen with you. All you got to do is go to Meetup and sign up here. AI Woodstock Boston. Right now, we've got about 175 people signed up. Should be very interesting just before our event. And then in addition, we have our conference coming up. There is a wait list. Some people are coming off the wait list. So it's, Generative AI World 2024. Really a huge lineup of speakers, things coming together well. A lot of excitement, and love to have you there. If folks are interested, put your name on the wait list. We'll see if we can get you off it. And also want to remind folks, there's no Learning Lab on Monday. We're going to be busy at our conference and talking to participants and clients and so forth. So no Learning Lab this Monday, but we'll be back at it the week after. So those are the three big announcements I have. Amanda, Luda, David, Akash, any other announcements?
But
No.
we are doing the news on Monday, right, John?
We are doing, news. We're
doing-
going to continue to do on Monday, Tuesday. News. The news is like delivering the mail. It must go on. Okay, so we have one essential here in terms of Canvas and number of importance, couple optionals. Have a great weekend, everybody. For those of you who are coming, can't wait to see you at our event, and see you all Monday. Bye-bye.
Happy Friday.